So you're an atheist.
Yes.
A proud atheist.
A reluctant atheist.
Where do you get your meaning from?
Well, I was trying to think about what meaning actually means. And generally when talking about it, I try to give some like clever-sounding academic definition. But I was reading Blaise Pascal's Pensées, the Thoughts. This marvelous, marvelous volume. And I don't think it was ever supposed to be published, but in the first part, Man Without God, he talks about the concept of boredom. There's this wonderful passage on the concept of boredom. And he says, it's where you get this famous quote that all of man's troubles spring from his inability to sit alone in a room in silence. And he imagines somebody who tries to pass their boredom by gambling. Every day he goes and places a stake in the hopes that he'll win some money. And this is how he stops himself from being bored. And Pascal says, well, give this man all of the money that he could have won in the gambling game on the condition that he can't play anymore. And you'll make him unhappy because there's no thrill in it, there's no excitement. Okay, so he doesn't just want to win the money, he wants to play the game. Okay, says Pascal, allow him to play the game, but he's guaranteed not to win the money. You're also going to make him upset. Okay, so what is it then? You need something like not having the thing desired, along with the illusion that once you achieve the thing that's desired, it's going to make you happy. But because having the thing on its own isn't actually going to make you happy, you also need to not have it. So meaning has to be something like that slightly self-deceptive position of identifying happiness in something you don't have, believing that you can achieve it, and then constantly not achieve it, right? Because it used to be the case that the things that, I mean, with the sort of centers of meaning, the self-help stuff that I was mentioning a moment ago, they say, you know, seek discomfort, cold showers, and go to the gym and eat healthily and this kind of thing. And it's because, you know, it used to be that when you wake up, it was a gamble. You don't know if you're going to have a shelter over your head. You don't know if you're going to have food to eat. Every single day, the thing resets. Now, you've got the money without the game. You've got the food, you've got the shelter, you're fine. So what people are doing is they're seeking out the game without the prize. This is why religion does it so well, because religion is the definition of something which you don't have now, and for your entire life will not have, and yet believe that you can have, and think that that thing is desirable. That must be the thing that religion serves. So, look, I was really happy to be invited and speak here, and I think it's wonderful, but when somebody asks me where do I find my meaning, I'm like, I'm as much in this struggle as anybody else. There's nothing that I can do to help you find it, except for firstly helping to try and recognize what it is that we're actually looking for. And I think it's maybe something like that.
John, do you recognize that struggle, that description? Or do you have a bit more of a sort of purposeful view of it?
Well, no, I mean, I respect Alex, what he's saying, and I think there's important truths in it. I would say initially, I agree with Alex. There's a perennial problem of meaning, Ecclesiastes or books of the same ilk. And I think this has to do with the fact that we are perennially prone to despair because the very processes that make us intelligently adaptive also make us perpetually susceptible to self-deception. And we can get bound up and cut off and disconnected from ourselves and other people. So I think there's definitely a perennial aspect, cross-cultural, cross-historical aspect to it. I think what's specific about what I call the meaning crisis is that those perennial problems usually have had perennial solutions. There have been, and the solutions are not what we call belief systems. They are systems, or better, make it more sort of dynamic, ecologies of practices, ways of transforming consciousness, cognition, character, community, that give people a sense that they're ameliorating this self-deception and enhancing their connectedness to themselves, to other people, to the world. And those ecologies of practices have been housed in various things, or homed is better. They've been homed in religions, but they've also been homed in these things that sort of hang on the border between philosophy and religion, like Buddhism and Taoism, and maybe Stoicism. And so what seems to be the case, though, is we don't have a socially recognized, legitimated home outside of the religions for people who want to ameliorate their foolishness, who want to enhance their connectedness. if you'll allow me a little bit highfalutin word, who want to cultivate wisdom. And because of that, and that has to do with some very important historical factors.
But do you think it's new, though? I mean, Alex was saying it's been around forever. Just a mile away, we have the Columbia campus. It has nothing to do with this conversation in a way, but the intensity of the political disagreement, the sense that people are fundamentally unreconciled. Do you think that is just another manifestation of this? Do you think we are in a particularly...
Very, very much. And I think from an anthropological point of view, not a theological point of view, from an anthropological point of view, these are religious events. These are people... Well, I want to do what Alex did. What is it that we're seeking? We're seeking meaning. So in cognitive science and psychology, we try to distinguish between the meaning of life, which is some grand metaphysical claim, and meaning in life. And philosophers like Susan Wolf and others. So what this is that it sort of has a bunch of factors, but one is, does the world make sense to you? Think of all the things you have in a video game and why people want to be in video games. Does the world make sense to you? Is there a story that you can play a part in? And is there a way for you to level up, for you to get better as a person, to enhance your agency? And so it's this fundamental sense of connectedness. And so you can determine meaning in life by asking people 3 questions. What do you want to exist even if you don't? How really real is it? And how much of a difference do you make to it now? These people in these events, they want to connect to something, a cause that's bigger than themselves. And they want it to exist. They think the universe is a better place if this cause is there. They want to they think it's really real. They think these are real events. This is significant, important. This isn't like going to the store and buying milk. And they think they can make a difference by participating in it, committing to it. And so I think it's very much, and the fact, I think it's very much an act about trying to get this connectedness. And the fervor means that it's being driven by, a tinge of anxiety, a tinge of hunger, a tinge even of, potential despair.
I mean, they would say, if they were here right now on this panel, they'd be pretty cross by that suggestion, I think, because they would say there are big problems. These are issues which they're engaging with in a practical way. Alex, do you look at the news? Do you look at stuff happening like in Colombia? Every day there are now these what appear to be completely unreconcilable battles. Do you see something existential in them, or do you think it's just politics or culture war? Or
well, existentialism is always sort of at the basis of political and cultural disputes. There's always some like bedrock that people are working from. Because if there weren't, then you could just solve these disputes by using reason. You could just sort of figure out what the disagreement is, figure out who most agrees with the bedrock that you both share, and there you go, like problem solved. But no, there's some kind of philosophical bedrock. The thing that people are looking for, the reason why you can't just argue people out of this stuff, and it's something that I've spoken to John about before, and I think we'll agree on, is that wherever this meaning thing exists, if you look at traditional centers of meaning, art and poetry and religion, like one of the unifying features is that it is non-propositional.
Yes.
It's not something that you put into a syllogism. It's not something that you sort of rationalize and argue. Means? So it's like, okay, the way I'll explain it is, I imagine, I kind of wanted to make like a sketch. What I'm trying to say is that the way of doing philosophy that arises with the analytic philosophical tradition, so trying to translate all philosophy into like if P then Q, P therefore Q, like that rationally follows, logical deduction, that kind of stuff. This is not how people interact with the world. This is not how people behave. If you open the Bible, you do not find a single syllogism. Like, this is not why people come to believe in God. This is probably something you'll talk about with Richard Dawkins and Ayaan Hirsi Ali. I imagined, for example, this sketch I wanted to make. There's like a man who is in desperation about to throw himself off a bridge, and someone comes up to him and says, "What are you doing?" And he says, I'm just so hopeless, life has no meaning. And the guy says, "Well, have you ever thought about the question of God?" And he says, I've thought about it sometimes. Maybe I feel like I'm being listened to. And then he recites a poem to him, and he's overwhelmed with beauty, and he considers getting off of the ledge. And the man talks him through this narrative. He tells him about his own struggles with meaning and purpose. And the man's like, okay, I feel heard, I feel seen, and he's about to climb back over the ledge. But then he remembers that the principle of sufficient reason fails because of modal fatalism in the academy, and so he throws himself off the bridge. It's not how people think. It's not how people behave, right? Like this, Keats says that, he says, "Do not all charms fly at the mere touch of cold philosophy. Philosophy will clip an angel's wings, conquer all mysteries by rule and line.
But you have a whole show devoted to philosophy. This is your topic. How...
Yes. Is that the time? I think we're... Yeah, I do, but...
Presumably you find it helps you. I mean, I'm really fascinated to know. You make... where some people are saying that atheism is going out of fashion, you are doing a good job of trying to bring it back into fashion. Do you find something in that atheistic philosophical line of inquiry to fill your soul?
No, but atheism doesn't really have that kind of content, right? And you're right that my show is all about philosophy, but whereas when I was like a 17 or 18-year-old getting started, my whole show, my whole shtick was doing the well actually thing, was doing, well, don't you know that commits that logical fallacy and therefore that doesn't actually follow from that. And you know what, it worked. People liked it. They thought, oh, this is cool, and they watched it. The reason I'm saying this now is because, I'm not a 17, 18-year-old anymore. I've realized that it's not what connects with me. It's not, like, I can't remember where it comes from, but C.S. Lewis at one point talks about how when he made this shift, and what I'm trying to say is that where I used to do that, I still talk about philosophy, but I am trying to encourage my audience to, instead of getting down and analyzing every brushstroke of a painting and trying to understand the Mona Lisa by looking at it through a microscope and trying to figure out what the pigment is, by just stepping back and looking at the picture and realizing that that's what you were supposed to be doing all along. C.S. Lewis, when he made this kind of shift, because C.S. Lewis used to be an atheist. He used to be the rationalist atheist type. And then, okay, he becomes a Christian, but before that he realizes the importance of narrative and the non-propositional. And he realized that he was being asked by what I see as now sort of the popular philosophical analytic tradition. He's being asked to deny that which is most real to him. Meaning, purpose, narrative, stories that connected with him. He was being asked to deny that and accept as true the things that were most unreal to him. Like numbers and abstractions and sort of geometric shapes that sort of exist somewhere in the Platonic form of the realm of forms or whatever. And that's just not how humans work. So
you're already on the C.S. Lewis journey then? You did 2 steps out of 3.
Yes.
Get you back here in 10 years.
You mentioned my previous YouTube name. It's why one of my good friends used to call me his second favorite CS. I can't see something like that coming around the corner, but I've learned a lot from the man about specifically this. But C.S. Lewis himself, even being one of the most prolific apologists for Christianity in the world, realized that it's not about the apologia. He wrote a poem called The Apologist's Evening Prayer, which he imagined sitting down and those spending days and days arguing successfully for God's existence. I can do it if you want. It's like 2 paragraphs. It's quite short. I don't want to take up too much time. It's wonderful. He says, from all my lame defeats, and oh, much more, from all the victories I seemed to score, from cleverness shot forth on thy behalf, at which, whilst angels weep, the audience laugh, from all my proofs of thy divinity, thou who'd give no sign, deliver me. Thoughts are but coins. Let me not trust instead of thee their thin-worn image of thy head. From all my thoughts, even my thoughts of thee, thou fair silence, fall and set me free. Lord of the narrow gate and needle's eye, take from me all my trumpery, lest I die. And coming from C.S. Lewis, that is an extraordinary revelation about what all of this is really about.
So let's try to understand the heart behind Alex O'Connor's analogy. So what he does is he compares our longing for meaning to a gambler, chasing the next win, suggesting maybe we deceive ourselves if we never reach that ultimate jackpot or truth. Now, to be fair, he did not directly say that he's longing for understanding what ultimate reality is. But from his analogy, it is a reasonable inference. When we seek meaning, we are often seeking to grasp what's ultimately true. Now, here's the thing. Both his worldview and mine as a Christian carry uncertainty. None of us know with absolute certainty because we're human after all. But here's the contrast. Alex's analogy implies that longing might leave us uncertain of ever finding meaning whatsoever, like a gambler chasing a win that may never actually come. And on the other hand, from a Christian perspective, we trust that longing for ultimate reality is a path that is grounded in hope. Even though we don't have perfect certainty, we believe the steps, reason, experience, and faith move us towards something that is real. So both views wrestle with uncertainty. But for me, the difference is this. One suggests that we might never know. The other trusts that we are being drawn towards ultimate truth, step by step. So in conclusion, I love that final contrast because both worldviews wrestle with uncertainty. But for me, the difference, it is clear. One suggests that we may never know, and the other trusts that we are being drawn to ultimate truth. And here's why Christians believe that that trust isn't just subjective. We find evidence in history, like the life, the death, and the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Claims that have shaped billions of lives. We see transformed lives, people who across cultures and centuries encounter meaning that is far beyond themselves. And we see a coherent purpose, a narrative where we're not just chasing meaning, we're invited into it. That's why we trust this isn't just a self-made illusion. It's something that invites us into an objective reality that calls us step by step toward ultimate truth. Take the evidence that Jesus Christ has given you as all works of antiquity and historicity fail and pale in comparison to the amount of manuscript evidence and authority that Jesus Christ, as the one who is the center of all human history, came to make himself known as the source of that ultimate reality. Do not reject his love for you. He forgave those that persecuted, ripped, and torn him apart. He died for them so they could have eternal life with him. And you can do the same if you have rejected him. Put your faith in Jesus Christ today. Thanks for watching. Be blessed.